Good morning. It is Caffeine Corner. I have my death wish coffee this morning. That's how seriously we're taking this topic this morning. I broke out the good stuff, and I don't know if you ever heard of Death Wish Coffee, but go look it up. I'd love to have them as a sponsor one of these days. They are the highest caffeinated coffee on the planet. Literally, this is probably enough to kill anybody under the age of maybe 23. So, yeah. But anyways, morning, Chesh.
I got my little goblin in the background. You see him?
Where's your little goblin?
See him?
Barely. Yeah, I can see him.
Right there. He's
What are you
just sticking
drinking?
out. Oh, you can't see him on the outside. That's why.
I see something. I see something back there, but I don't know what it is. It looks like you got to remember we're at low resolution. There. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Okay. That was off to the side because you were pointing to this little white thing in the middle, and I don't. That's a goblin. That's the goblin. Harassment. Started off already with harassment.
And Puck is here.
Did the goblin give you consent? Because I don't think he did. But
belongs to me.
Anyways,
property.
Yeah, that's true. So now that the goblin is yours, you consider it property, and that's how you have defined your relationship with your goblin. That's sexist.
Correct.
Yeah, that's sexist.
It's also racist.
But anyways, I don't know. Is goblin a race? Yeah, I guess it is. Huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Goblin, troll, ogre. Yeah, those are races, I guess. But anyways, we're going to be talking about a topic today that we've discussed before in many different times on many different platforms, but we're going to take a little bit different approach, I think, today. There is I don't know, it was a blog, I guess, that we're going to be kind of going over. It was a blog, I guess you can say, isn't it?
Kind of like a blog / article / opinion piece.
Yeah. Yeah, it has some really good points. And we want to kind of point out what we believe are the distinctions between harassment and criticism, especially when we're talking about fair criticism. For example, I'll give you an example of fair criticism. Just the other day, on Friday, I did a thing on Hunter's Dilemma, right, from Dr. Braxton Hunter. And, I didn't realize, by the way, he was in a live chat under a different name. So I know who he is now on the live chat. But he was watching. And I said, if he watches this, hope that he watched it, and I was like, hoping if he watches it, he liked it, and he said, dude, that was fair criticism, and he liked what I had to say about it. There's clearly no harassment of him, right? I mean, yeah, he's a theist. I don't necessarily agree with some of his positions, but it was a fair analysis based upon what he had put out. That's nothing wrong with that. That's criticism. Would you agree that there was absolutely no harassment then?
Yeah, and there's also like something where you can kind of like take the piss. You can like you can like poke a little bit of fun at something that somebody says, and you're not harassing them. You're not.
Satire is great. Yeah, look,
right.
When people satire at me, I'm flattered. I'm like, they took a time to make a meme. That's funny. As long as it's not like
all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, like, for example, people involving family members I have an issue with, obviously, right? But I mean, if you just want to, lampoon somebody and criticize them by using satire, I'm fine with it. I don't care. There's some deep fakes out there that I'm like, these are awesome that I've seen, Not me, so
really good.
Yeah.
So I think some of them go a little bit too far, but for the most part, I think they're all pretty funny.
Yeah,
There was one that was really good, and I think it was Steve as Captain Hook. That one was really funny.
I don't remember seeing that one, but okay. I have to look for that one. Yeah, I can't see them all. There's too many. For some reason, I guess I'm very popular as far as lampooning. And as you guys may have noticed, yes, I actually have an actual pair of glasses. You guys didn't see the show the other day on my math thing because only a handful of people like the math stuff. But all the math people liked it. They thought it was pretty good. But I am having two lenses here. Yes, so I can actually see was it stereo vision? Yeah, which is kind of nice because I have two monitors. Before it was like a blind, but I can see this one, so I kept so. But yeah, so anyways, the whole thing about people doing fair criticism is completely fine. And I think it was Estelle pointed out on Twitter, and I tweeted this out earlier. And she used to be, I don't know if she still is, but part of the Guardian project from Mark Pellegrino. And she had actually said something that I thought was really spot on. She says something to the effect that some people think that it doesn't work two ways. That if it's criticism, if you give it to somebody else, but it's harassment if they do it to you. And I think that's spot on. I think a lot of people do have that misconception that there's not some bidirectionality there, right? If people want to criticize my blog in my videos for what I put out. If I'm putting out some math videos, I'm putting out some philosophy videos, I'm putting out some science videos, and they say, hey, Steve, I think your logic is wrong here. Let me show you why. I find nothing wrong with that. I've watched some of them. The ones I've watched don't actually assail the argument. I leave them a comment saying, this is why I don't think your argument works. And then I leave it at that. Or I just don't bother if it's somebody who's been trying to get my attention forever saying, hey, you're wrong. And I'm like, I've already explained this to you a million times. I'm done at this point. Now it's starting to become harassment. And people may remember I had a Patreon like that. I had a $50 Patreon that kept going on my blog and harassing me, and especially two of my friends, and even interviewing one of them to the point where they took his interview and Frankenstein cut to make it sound like he was saying things that he didn't say. And he was very upset about that. And I went off on this guy because you're not going to buy me off. You're not going to, be a Patreon of mine to harass my friends and think you have, unlimited access to say, hey, look, I've already refuted your argument, when you have not. And other people had explained to him, look, you didn't actually address Steve's argument. You addressed a straw man. That doesn't constitute an assailment of an argument, right?
Well, here's the thing. If you were really that convinced that you had already debunked the argument, what are you doing here?
Right? Yeah, like, good point, right?
Why do you need other people's acknowledgement that you have if they don't think you have? If they don't think you have and you want to have that discussion, that's fine. You can have that discussion. But if you're not going to accept what they're saying, what's the point of having the conversation if you just want to screech at people saying, I already debunked this, I already debunked this, I already debunked this. If it was like, okay, if there was somebody out there, say, criticizing Steve, saying that he harasses somebody, and they have a video put together that they think demonstrates that this is the case. Here's their argument, here's their case, and then they say, listen, I actually did a video breaking this down and explaining it. Here you go. I would watch that video. I would, because I'd be curious. I'd be like, all right, let's see if this is legitimate. Because most of the time at this point, it's kind of been a waste of time. There wouldn't be a point. But if there was somebody like new coming to the scene and saying this, I would want to go and watch the video, and then I'd be like, okay, so here's where they might have a point. Here's where they don't have a point. Blah 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 blah. Then you can kind of do a breakdown. You can do then another response and another response, and then maybe bring them on to review some of the things they said. That'd be really interesting. And because sometimes something can be viewed a certain way because somebody is missing context or doesn't have some additional information, especially when you're going into a situation that you're new to, right? So there's conversation to be had there. But at that point, if they don't assail the argument or they don't make their case very well, and you say, hey, listen, I just didn't think this was very convincing. And if they say, okay, why? Like, okay, well, this, and this, and then they respond with just, well, no, it was convincing. Oh, okay.
Yeah, here's the thing. Look, if you have a criticism of somebody else's criticism, and then they just come back to you, and they don't have a fair criticism of your criticism, there's a problem with that. And this is kind of what happened with my logical arguments that I've had, like my WASP argument, and my Gumballs and God, and a few of other arguments that have been reviewed by very, recognizable people. I mean, Landon. I've had the head of the Cal Space. Yeah, I mean, everybody loves Landon, right? I mean, if Landon says, hey, look, you're right on this as far as the logic or the math or something like this, if somebody says you're wrong, we need to really know why, right? We have to dive into this because you're just not saying that I'm wrong. You're saying Landon, Kurt Knoll, is wrong. And of course, he's one of the leading mathematician, computer scientist, astronomer, volcanologist. And I mean, he's like in the world.
Okay, so Landon is one of the best and nicest people in the world, and if Landon told me gravity is going to stop working tomorrow, I would just believe it. I would be like, okay, I guess I better
buy a strap,
cord and some nails and some string and tie everything down because fuck.
Right? Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I usually kind of go by what Landon says for the most part. But yeah, so on my arguments, if people say, look, I think
I ask Landon questions all the time, but they're legitimate. Like, I'm not criticizing him with my questions. I'm trying to understand. And those are two also very different things. When somebody's asking questions to be leading, to try and criticize you, or to lie about you, versus I'm asking because I actually want to know and understand the situation.
All right, well, let's examine that. So let's look at and I'm not going to get the details of the arguments because it's just too long and involved, and I've done it a million times. If you want to go check it out, go check out my blog in the video description. But all right, for example, like my WASP argument, you have somebody like these atheist activists that just by fiat say they're wrong, right? They don't. They. You asked any of them, hey, what is Steve's WASP argument? None of them, I don't think, would be able to tell you. I really don't think that they could, but they've said it's already been assailed. And when you ask them, well, how has it been assailed? They'll show you some video that doesn't even address it. And if it does try to address it, it completely gets it wrong, right? So they're so far nobody I've seen a video on has given a proper refutation on it. And if they think that they have, like you said, why does it stand for itself? Why are not all these people that are experts in these topics going, hey, Steve, this guy made a point on this, right? I mean, I don't see that happening. You think that my friends are so like, brainwashed that if somebody shows my logic to be wrong, they'll be like, hey, Steve, they showed your logic to be wrong. Just ignore it. They'll be like, no, hey, Steve, you need to fix this. Right? That's what they should do.
So, yeah, no, that would be everybody would be like, oh yeah, somebody who's I don't know if she is in the chat right now would be all over that, and it's Feline. Feline would be all over that in a heartbeat.
I'm telling you,
like,
Feline loves me, but she would love to show my stuff wrong. Absolutely, I get it. That doesn't fault her for it at all. I expect no less. And here's the thing that would happen. I'd be like, okay, that made a really good point. Let me see if I can shore this part of the argument up. That's all that would happen.
Right, because it's not a matter of we don't. At no point have any of us, I think, ever been like terribly offended by saying, "Hey, I think this could be worded better," or "Hey, I think there's a little bit of a hole here. Maybe rephrase it," or blah blah blah. No, because when you can explain yourself, it's not frustrating. Because if you just say, "I disagree with you," okay, and
no, people can disagree, but like I said, there's certain things like when I did the my math hangout on Friday. But there's something that's still objectivity.
But people who are harassing don't let people disagree with them. There's the difference.
Right. Yeah. When we seem to criticize other people when they get things demonstrably wrong, factually wrong, and that's the difference. Look, there's two types of opinions you can have, really. There's objective opinions and there's subjective opinions, right? Not all opinions are subjective. I can have an objective opinion. That's a fact. 1 + 1 = 2. That is my opinion. That happens to also be a fact. There's a, right? I mean, so just because you say, hey, dude, it's your opinion, doesn't mean it's not a factual statement. Doesn't mean there's not an objective fact of the matter to be had. So when somebody says, hey, Stephen, you're wrong on your on this, and it's an objective fact of the matter, like mathematics, we can check this. We can go to an objective standard about maths and see if it's right or wrong. Okay. But on a subjective opinion, whether, if we're arguing, about abortion rights, or arguing something about political, should people be independent, Republican, Democrat, Trump, Biden, whatever, those are all subject to, there's all subjectivity there, right? There's no objective measure to be had who's a better president, right? Now, one could make an argument that Trump's really bad by some maybe moral objective standard, but for the most part, those are just beliefs that have no real corresponding fact that you can say this makes it an objectively true statement, for the most part. And I think when people argue those kinds of things, that's perfectly fine when they attack the reasons why they believe something else is wrong and not the person. And I see a lot more of the people attacking people, especially on Twitter, when they can't attack the argument. People will come after me and they'll start throwing out all kinds of things about me that are, and 95% of them aren't true, and the other 5 I'm actually pretty proud of. But it's like, why come after me or come after Chesh or go after Bull if you can't actually address the argument? That doesn't do anything for your side. It just makes you look petty.
You'll notice that there's also, you'll see somebody who's like a little bit more legitimately interested in the discussion versus somebody who's just trying to get a gotcha, is whether or not they're steel manning you and whether or not they're straw manning you. So if you say something and you don't say it the best way, right? Whether or not they decide to just take what you said and run with it in an incorrect manner, or they try to address what you're actually trying to say. I go out of my way, particularly when talking to flirfs, people who think the earth is flat. I will spend a lot of time being like, is this what you're saying? I'm asking you. I'm not trying to attack you. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So that way, and however, When you hear me say that, that starts the countdown. And that should start the countdown in the back of your mind of like, I'm about to nail this person to the wall because I'm going to make sure that this is what they're saying and this is how they're saying it so that way I can rip them apart so that way they have no wiggle room after the fact. Like you can't say, oh no, that's not what I meant. No. There's no wiggle room here. This is what you said. I confirmed like 7 times to make sure that everybody understood what you were saying and what you're trying to say, because that happens. There's a difference between what people actually say and what people are trying to say. And so when somebody says whatever they've actually said, and you have these 2 sides, 2 directions you can go of addressing what they're trying to say and what the argument or discussion or topic is about, the concept, or you go down and start trying to pick apart the thing they said. If you're doing it for funsies and you're not being a dick, yeah, that can be a little bit like razzing. But if that's you now start saying that this is what they're saying, even when they correct themselves, you're harassing them. You're being an asshole.
I agree. Let me make sure, God, can they hear in the outside, God? Because somebody was saying they couldn't hear you. Because if not, we're just talking to an invisible man in the sky that is. We hear.
Oh, my fault, guys. Sorry, they should be hearing me right now. Sorry. Yes.
He does exist. God does exist. Okay, we're not just talking to an invisible. Confirmed. There you go. Everybody's a theist now.
God exists, and last time we confirmed that astrology was real. So there you go.
Yeah, who knew, right? That was brilliant. Yeah, I am flabbergasted. I am totally going to read my horoscope every single day now. Not, but yeah, that was actually hilarious. I actually enjoyed that. But I think you make a really good point about straw manning and steel manning. When people come at me, I'm like you. If a new person comes on the scene, I kind of start at the middle, right? Kind of give them a neutral thing. And we'll see where they lead. If they say, hey, I read your blog, that's the first thing. I've actually, people said, tell me you're wrong. I'm going to go get, what is about my argument that's wrong? Oh, I didn't read it. At that point, you're done, right? I mean, where are you going to go from there? Yeah. But let's say that they said, I read it. I think you have an error here. And I said, well, okay, I think you're misunderstanding it. Let me try to correct it. And we can have some good dialogues. I've had some really good dialogues that way. And actually had a person just yesterday, after numerous people had started talking to them, they're like, hey, you're not addressing Steve's argument. And they showed them evidence, and they're like, okay, maybe Steve has a point here. I have to like get some sleep. If you want to pick this up tomorrow, Steve, we can do that. And I said, sure. Yeah, no problem.
Was that Mark guy? Mark?
What was his name that? I think so. I could have been.
I think so. Because I invited him to come
his exact name.
Potentially with answers and reason to have that discussion, to be like, okay, this person seems to think that this is the best thing to use to get the best definition to use to get people out of atheism, or sorry, out of religion, and it's the rocks are atheist thing. And they might have an argument there, right? So like when you're learning biology in 10th grade, they teach you things that you learn later on down the line are incorrect, right? They're oversimplified, or they're kind of wrong, and that's just the way they teach it. I don't necessarily agree with that teaching method, but there's an argument to be made to say that it's effective in some aspects, and that's fine. But to say it's the most effective way, that's a discussion, and I'm totally down to have that discussion, because now we're actually getting to the meat and potatoes. The meat and potatoes of that kind of genre of discussion. We actually made it to step 2, because for so long we're stuck at step 1 of being like, there's only one way, and Steve's a bad man because he's a prescriptivist when he's saying there's more than one definition.
And it's funny, there's actually a discussion to be had about prescriptivism that we never really even had, and it's kind of a shame. But as you well know, Ozzy and I have had numerous discussions about this, and Ozzy and I kind of both kind of think there's a way to break down prescriptivism into a hard and soft. And a hard prescriptivist would say, look, you have to use this word this way, right? These are the grammar Nazis. These words you cannot. You're inflexible to use it any other way, kind of thing.
I would probably be soft. I would probably be a soft.
Yeah, I'm okay with soft. And that just basically says, look, this is a better way to use this. This is how it's normally used. And if you want to go like read a paper on it, this is what you're going to be using it as. If not, you're not going to understand the paper. That's kind of a soft prescriptivist. I think Draper is a soft prescriptivist in the fact that he says in his paper, you ought to use a certain word a certain way. And what he means by this, what you should use, and what he means by this is if you want to really go understand this topic and you read a paper, if you don't in your mind you don't understand what they're talking about by using the word the way that they're using it. It's not going to make much sense to you. That's all.
I think there's a bit of an issue with education when it comes to this. I don't think people are taught English very well about, or at least not.
See, she said very well. She's been taught. See, she didn't say very good.
People are not taught as stringently as they should be the rules of the English language, and because people break them all the time. People break the rules of English constantly, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with using this word instead of this word because you're trying to portray a specific meaning, even though this word might be what you're trying to do, let alone grammar.
In my opinion, grammar Nazis, that's like the highest form of tu-coque fallacy, because I dare you to find someone who has never made a mistake in spelling or grammar while writing.
Yeah, and there's some
I dare you to find it.
Don't you agree there's some reasons to flout the rules of English? Look, when we grew up,
yes,
it was like you don't split infinities, you know, you don't have dangling participles. Well, and then later on they say, you know what, you can do what you want. You're right. If you write the way you want to write to express yourself. Yeah, don't begin with and or but.
There's nothing wrong with breaking the rules. However, it's a little bit problematic when you don't know the rules that you're breaking when you're breaking them. It's important to understand and know what those rules are, so that way when you do break them, what you say still makes sense. Take Gary, for example. I don't think what thinking is.
Yeah, that's not English in any capacity that I'm aware of. And that's another thing. Again,
stroke.
You're trying to communicate something, right? We're trying to convey something, and I realize that a lot of people that don't do videos or don't do public speaking, they're not as an effective speaker as they probably would be if they had a lot of practice at it. Now, most of us, I mean, I have over 1,000 videos. I practiced a lot. Now, I wasn't like this 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Probably would never be able to do this. I never liked public speaking. I remember the first time I had to read something in front of people, and I'm like, oh, this sucked. I'm not ever doing this again. But after a while, you're like, I don't care. I've given so many training seminars over the years of 30, 40 people. It doesn't bother you after a while. You get used to it. But you have to be cognizant of what you're saying. And I think a lot of people, like when you read like Gary's tweet, he didn't have a clue what the hell he was trying to convey. He didn't know what he was trying to convey. Therefore, he couldn't express it in a way that made sense to anybody to understand it.
All he wanted to convey was Steve Badman. And it's just like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's something that you'll notice, though, between people who are harassing and people who are criticizing. People who are criticizing are trying to understand. They're trying to understand. People who are harassing or just trying to give you a hard time are not going to try to understand what you're saying. Half the time they don't even understand. They're trying to actively misrepresent what you're trying to say.
And that's the difference. Again, if you're doing a criticism, as Cheshire pointed out, the best way to do it is always steelman them. Always steelman. Because if you're going to defeat their best argument, you're golden. If you strawman them, what is your point? You're just defeating an argument they're not making. This is why I actually have on my blog, all my well, not all my positions, but a lot of my positions relating to something where it says in there to alleviate strawman, to try to prevent strawman, meaning strawmanning of me, because people strawman me a lot. And then they say, well, Steve, you believe this? And I go, here's my blog. I've had this for years. It says right here, that's not my position. What more evidence do you want that you're strawmanning me?
Yeah, and there's a difference between when you get to the point where you don't even recognize what these people are trying to say anymore. Like they've gotten things so twisted around and backwards, and they've tried to twist what you're saying so much that what they're saying you're saying doesn't even make cognizant sense anymore.
Do you think that's because a lot of them just... Well, do you think a lot of them get so deranged that they've lost all sense of even attempting to have anything valid to say? Because again, I ignore these people have for years. We want nothing to do with them. And that was what's kind of funny is, you have people that come around saying, oh, look, Steve harassed me because he unblocked me. I'm like, I unblocked them once over a period of 2 years because they said something that was so egregious that I had moral outrage that I wanted to address it. And yet they literally have for 2 years talked about me every single day of their life for some reason, and I don't even know who this person is. I've never had a conversation with them. That to me is a little bit bizarre.
Well, there's a difference between you unblocked them, but didn't message them at all. Didn't tweet
No, I
at
didn't
them,
tag
didn't
them.
say anything.
Right.
And immediately they were all over your timeline.
Yeah. But see, here's another thing. If you make a fake account to tag somebody, I have an issue with this. I've never done this. Anybody that I blocked, why would I go out of my way to message them on a different account? That's just stupid. That is harassment.
I'm going away. I never want to talk to you anymore ever again.
Yeah.
Hi,
And
I'm face, and I hate you.
Yeah, do that again. That was good. Do that again. You need to get a mask. You need to do this, and you need to get a mask. And as you're turning, put it on.
Okay, hold on, I can do that. So,
all right.
Just a sec. I got.
Yeah, she's got some. She's got some of the stuff too to do it too.
Hold on.
But it is so true. I mean, you see all these fake accounts pop up, like, oh, count created November, count created October, and it's like, okay, you know, this is somebody that's already been defeated multiple times. They're just coming around to screw with people. Well, what's the point of that? I mean, they have the same arguments, and they're not even arguments. I wouldn't even give them the justification of even call it an argument, right? It's not an argument they have. What they have is unfair criticism and just, oh, such and such is a mean poopy head.
Okay. Hey, yeah, I'd never want to talk to you again. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Fuck you. I'm leaving now. Bye. Hi, I'm definitely not Chesh, and you're a meanie poopy head, and I hate your face.
I love it.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, on the back of the chair, you should put a little sign that says "1 day later."
1 day later.
1 day later.
Exactly. 1 day later. That's exactly what we need to do. That's glorious. It's funny because it's true. That's what makes it funny. It's freaking hilarious. Because that's what we see. And look, I am telling people nowadays, just strictly block them. Before I was like, look, if you want to engage them, do your thing. I'm either saying, hey, look, block them, mute them, ignore them, or just unfollow me and I'll unfollow you. I don't want on my timeline any longer. That's all. That's it. I mean, I'm not prescriptively telling anybody what to do. It's just, look, I'm just giving them suggestions that I'm not going to follow anybody that's engaging with these trolls any longer. It's just not going to happen. I don't care who they are.
We did that before.
Yeah,
and it was effective.
And I'm going to do it again. I have no choice. It's because
threats, and then we decided to talk about it again.
Would you agree that enough's enough?
Well, it kind of depends on what. So there's multiple different ways of. Oh my god, I'm falling apart. There are multiple different ways of trying to.
It sucks to get old, doesn't it? Yeah.
Deal with right. To deal with trolling and harassment and bullies, that like there's a lot of different different tactics and that you can use, strategies. Sometimes blocking and ignoring them outright is effective, and sometimes it's not. I'm kind of at the point with these people because they circle around so much that I think it'd be kind of funsies just to bookmark threads where this has happened before already, and then every time they show up, just send the last time this happened. Start date, blah 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 blah.
I don't mind if somebody does that. Yeah, I don't mind if somebody does that because every day these blender brains come around and it's like
again as if this is like a new discussion.
Yeah, it's like tabula rasa. They forget everything that's happened over the last 3 to 4 to 5 years with some of these people. Wouldn't
that be like the kicker if we find out they all just suffer from like some kind of severe memory dysphoria or memory loss, and so like every 2 months they're resetting and they think it's 2016.
Yeah, well 2015 I think. But yeah,
it could be a disease though, because they've all been in the same vicinity as Red's rhetoric. Maybe it's because they all looked at his face. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it'd have to be something chronic. There's certain conditions where people do have the inability to form short-term memory.
Their brain that does memory.
Right, because Reds doesn't have the problem. Reds could be the problem, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Reds could affect a lot of people's memory.
Especially when you look at them.
You've seen Reds. Do you not want to forget what you've seen? Let's be realistic.
Oh yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So maybe that's the key: is that once you see Reds, their brain just says, "No, I must not remember."
And that's all sarcasm, people. In case you want to clip any of that bullshit out of the context, it was all sarcastic, people.
Yeah, and blender. And by the way, I do call them blender brains because what they do is they put stuff in their head, they get it all mixed up, and then they spit it out as if there's some cohesion and some coherency to it when there's none. And half the time we're looking and going, "What the hell are these people talking about?" You know how many times I've asked Chesh, "What the hell?" People come to me on DMs and go, "Hey, Steve, what is this person talking about?" And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm not trying to be flippant either.
He goes to me and he's like, Chesh, what are these people talking about? I'm like, oh, they're conflating this. Apparently, I speak blender brain, so I'm proficient.
She's like the blender brain whisperer.
It's just because of my tactics when I'm having discussions. My tactics essentially go by what is the best possible way to interpret what they're trying to say, not necessarily what they did say. What's the concept that they're trying to get across? And when you understand that the concept they're trying to get across is I don't like Steve, it makes them a lot easier to understand.
But that's not an argument.
It's such a
that's
bizarre
a position.
Situation. Yeah, it's because like you want to be critical of Steve, that's fine. You want to know like Steve, that's fine. But like, what are you doing with your life?
Most of them are spending it, wasting it, trying to convince people I'm some mean poopy head, and it may have worked, a couple of years ago when people realized that these people were dishonest in their tactics. They were vile, reprehensible, immoral, and I just wanted nothing to do with them. I think that's kind of they've reached a wall for the most part because they've actually gone to people and told them, and people have actually come out and said this. I mean, like Chris Hatley has said, they have come to him and said, look, if you work with Steve, we will make sure that we never have anything to do with your show. We'll boycott your show. Make sure you don't have guests. We'll go after you. And he's like, screw you.
It was funny as hell. They got super mad because I didn't join their Discord and decided to come after me, and then I laughed at them.
Yeah.
It was really fun. They didn't have a problem with me. Okay, it took them, they were like 3 months too late. It took them 3 months to notice that I was like around and maybe they should try to contact me. And so after, I was disappointed. I was expecting them to be a little bit more on the ball, to be honest. It took them like an extra 3 months. And then they didn't get mad at me until I didn't join their Discord server. That's when they had a problem with me. That's when things switched. It was really funny. And there's one guy just the other day that's definitely not Kyle on an alternate account that was like, aren't you just going to snap your fingers and run away? And then blocked me.
Now, let me ask you. So there's certain accounts, certain troll accounts that I think that are so unwilling to even have a dialogue that they're probably people like Kyle or other people that we know that are just on fake accounts. And that's what I'm saying. Why bother with them? Now, I'm not saying that they are. I'm not making that accusation, but I'm saying it seems to be the case that they're so egregious that they're people that we know of some kind that are on fake accounts. Why deal with them? Because you're not going to give it. Do you think I'm ever convince Kyle that he was wrong in anything? No, he's too much of a narcissist, right? He's never going to take responsibility for the fact that he committed fraud or that he's looking at perjury or forgery. He's not going to accept these things. And he's going to be on, and we know that he goes out to try to character assassinate me, saying, well, Steve committed fraud. No, I didn't. He did. It was actually showed in court.
And whataboutism also, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Steve is all these horrible things. It's still what Kyle did is against the law and unacceptable.
I like
you cannot, believe it or not, I've seen a couple comments like this. I don't like Steve, but this Kyle guy. Right,
yeah. And now it's like, okay, Steve was right about Kyle, but that doesn't make Steve any less of a meanie poopy head, even though, it's coming out that everything that Steve and Bull and Reds and Chesh and Glenn and everybody else involved has been saying from the beginning were demonstrated to be true. What else do you want? And and what they do is they'll try to troll things like, well, Steve didn't have a contract with Kyle, and at that point you're like, you're done. Conversation's over. You're an idiot. I'm not going to waste my time with you any longer because that's already been a well demonstrated to be false narrative. I mean, if you want to believe that, knock yourself out. And if the world wants to believe it, knock yourself out. But here's the reality. I've already been awarded the show. Kyle's going to be going to prison probably. I don't give a shit what you believe. Knock yourself out. Think that we didn't have a contract. Good for you. Whatever.
There you see the difference. there you see the difference between criticism and harassment.
Harassment.
Steve's not going around trying to convince these people that he had and going into their other threads and making it about this shit that nobody's talking about. What these people are doing are saying that, oh, you don't believe us? You're a troll, you're a bad person, you're an apologist, you're a whatever, blah, 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 because you don't believe us by fiat. And it's like we don't need to convince anybody. Watch the videos. Like the whole thing has been
really
publicized.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Let the evidence speak for itself. Chester and I always said we respond to evidence, not accusations. As a matter of fact, there's been some things lately where people have made these weird accusations about me, but I haven't responded because there's no evidence behind it. I keep asking, show me the evidence, and I'll respond to something.
I enjoyed this comment right here. You guys are still going on about Kyle. It's been a year. Get a life. We'll move on when it stops being an active thing that's still happening.
So yeah, it's not that Kyle's gone away and he's not bothering us anymore. It's Kyle stole a bunch of Steve's shit and he wants his shit back.
Audio. Yeah, I mean, Kyle isn't. Yeah, this is the ongoing litigation. Kyle is in contempt of court. There'll be a contempt of court hearing scheduled. He still hasn't paid a dime. There has been no financial restitution. He's going to be sent. It's going to the DA for criminal prosecution, more than likely. This is an ongoing thing. So of course it's going to be a topic that is going to go on. Anybody who says otherwise, that's just somebody trolling. Period. I mean,
right. It's a bizarre thing to complain about. Why are you still discussing the person you're still in litigation with? What's wrong with you?
Right?
What? What? And that's one of the things. That's another tactic that can be effective if people are if you're getting harassed and what they're saying is actually bothering you. Stop and think about what they've actually said, because a lot of the time it makes no sense or has really bizarre consequences, and that's really fun. So, like, one of them was, like, if you talk to anybody who's ever been convicted of a crime, you're saying that that crime is okay. All right, what if I don't know they've committed the crime?
Hey, look, George is out there. George says, I always get his, I have a hard time with his last name. How do you put George? Notch, isn't it?
Not Chuck.
Not Chuck. Yeah, George Notchuk. Brilliant dude, by the way. If you guys want to ever learn about like engineering or math or anything like that, go to his channel. The dude is beyond. I mean, I would think George would give Landon a run for his money. Like, straight up.
Ooh.
That's how smart the dude is.
No, he's really smart.
Yeah, no, I mean, he is a professional engineer. It's been a while since to tune in. Hope all is well with you. You look good in the video. I trust the rum and coke has had a positive effect on your health. Absolutely. I don't drink that much. I really don't. My thing is coffee. I am addicted to coffee. I admit that.
Robert Payne said 1942. Why are you still talking about Germany? Women's suffrage was in the 50s and 30s. Why are you still talking about women's rights?
You got the right to vote. What do you want? I mean, isn't it over and done? I mean, everybody's equal. There's no such thing as racism in the world.
There aren't any slaves anymore. Racism's over, guys. Why are you still talking about it?
Oh, and by the way, that's a good segue. On the 18th, we're actually going to have a really, hopefully, amazing discussion on biblical slavery with Dr. Bowen from Digital Hammurabi and Dr. Fuzz Rana, who I co-host Read Argue with. And it's getting a lot of promo. I've been doing some light research on it. I wouldn't even call it research, basically just light reading, because that's not a topic I'm that familiar with. But I don't want to appear to be a complete idiot when you have two PhDs.
You're going to do a better job than Kyle and G-Man and Godless Engineer on one of the last.
Yeah, go figure. Debates. Even on Non Sequitur show, when somebody came on the show, I actually read. When Lawrence Krauss came on the show, I actually reread something from nothing. I read his book before. But, I was the one that would kind of familiarize with myself about the topic to some degree so I could have a conversation with the guest. I don't think Kyle ever did. And Kyle always seemed like he was lost 95% of the time because of it.
So that's the channel and that's the video. Why are you still talking about Germany? Oh my god.
Yeah.
The election's over. Why are you still talking about Trump?
Yeah. Again, this is funny. This is like the real time example in real time of people doing these types of things that do not want to have honest criticism, but just want to troll and harass. I mean, how many people have made fake accounts to come into my live chat? How many? I mean, more than we could ever count. Those are not people that are interested in honest dialogue. And this is what my audience sees. This is what we point out to people that say, how do you distinguish between somebody doing legit criticism and harassment? There are certain things you can look at. Now, again, it's not one size fits all, and it's just pointed out there's no one correct solution to how to alleviate being trolled or dealing with trolls. That one size does not fit all. But I think that's a good segue maybe to put put those criteria up here in a second.
Sure. There's also a philosophy that I think I'm a little bit more into than I think maybe Steve would follow. And because Steve is more like just don't, and I'm a little bit, he is more lawful and I'm more chaotic when it comes to, let's say, alignment stipulations. And so
I'm neutral good, but tending to lawful, I guess.
No, you're lawful. You do realize that lawful good involves like malicious compliance, right?
Yeah. I get it. Well, it depends on your
Malicious
D5 or
compliance.
D3 rules.
Harley for 2 said, I know none of you, but I love drama. Who is Kyle? Oh boy! Oh boy! TLDR. There was a show called The Non Sequitur Show. It had 2 hosts. It was owned by Steve and Kyle. They had Boole as their producer eventually. Once the show started making money, neither Steve nor Boole ever got paid, and Kyle absconded with $60,000, kicked Steve and Boole out of the show and tried to run it without them, and said, "What are you gonna do, sue me?" Or said, "So sue me." And so Steve did, and now we're in ongoing litigation. If you would like a little bit more information, go to my channel. There's a playlist there that you can check out. Hey.
Yeah, and also I put the Forbes article in, which is it's got issues to it, but at least gives a kind of a
It's got
synopsis.
issues. It seems a little biased and quite focused on the wrong thing. He seems to focus a lot on the money.
That's Well, Peter. Well, here's the thing with Peter, though. I've at least corresponded with Peter numerous times in emails. He is willing to update things and correct things, but he did point out, and I will give him this. He is an accountant, and his blog's about tax matters, and Forbes is about numbers and monies. That's why it's heavily focused on that. I could give him that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
so
I get that he's focusing on money because that's his bailiwick, but that's not why you want the channel back. And you want the channel back so you can make not only yourself whole, but the fan base whole.
Yeah, and
because the fan base lost it basically.
He's coming around to realize this has a lot more to do with justice and personal accountability. As far as Kyle tried to get away with something that was highly unethical, and luckily we had somebody, a dear friend of mine who I love to death, like a brother, step in and say, look, Kyle said sue him, and I'll do it, and I'll pay for it. And because of that, we were able to have justice done. Now we're still waiting for completion of this justice, but it's well on its way. The dominoes are falling.
So, Harley, I put in 2 playlists. One is the initial blowout, and the other one is all of the updates that have gone through. So, if you're bored and you want to follow the drama, there's like a lot of hours of bullshit. So, have fun.
Right, so, and then intrigued go ahead. Sorry.
You were gonna say Intrigued Feline wrote a blog?
Oh yeah, she put her links in there too for you, Harley. So you go read those. Those are good.
Oh, those are great. 1, 2, and 3. I read all 3 of them. I didn't see anything that she needed to correct offhand.
I didn't know 3 was out.
What was it? 3? I read 1 and 2. I don't know. Did I read 3? What I read then?
I have no idea. Wasn't that?
You're right. Maybe it's this 1 and 2. I lied. Maybe it was this 1 and 2. But whatever I read of hers, she did an excellent job on them. Well researched. I mean, yeah. So
yes. Okay. So as I was saying, because we have different points of view. I don't know if Steve would be so much as to going along with this kind of philosophy, but the philosophy is toxic to toxic people and wholesome to wholesome people. There is a anime YouTuber called Nux Taku, and he talks about toxic fandoms, and he talks about the psychology behind them. He talks about what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable, and why. His videos are hilarious, but that's kind of the philosophy that he's kind of solidified over a couple of I don't know, months of working on this. The dude's smart. Like, he's a smart guy. He's got some interesting takes on psychology and philosophy when it comes to anime, and he brings that over into the fandoms, into real world stuff, and into actual interactions. So I definitely recommend checking out his channel if you're interested on different tactics and different ways to kind of deal with harassment and toxicity. And he actually figured out a way to define what being toxic actually is, which is really interesting also. What do you think? Wholesome to wholesome people? Toxic to toxic people?
Oh, that's yeah. Well, look, I don't want to deal with the toxic people only for the fact that I rather focus my energy on other things. You enjoy occasionally dealing with them, and that's completely your prerogative to do. I've never said that you couldn't, never said don't. You do your own thing. I just don't find it interesting. I don't care to waste my time with people that I know are just trying to troll to cause issues. That I rather try to talk to somebody who says, "Hey, Steve, I read this. I don't understand it. Will you help me understand it?" I much rather spend my time doing that because that's what I enjoy doing.
I mean, yeah, there are times where I think it's beneficial and times when it isn't. There are times where I'll just ignore them because it's like, it's just a whatever. I've already I already had my fun. We're done with that topic. I don't care. But at the same time, these people always bring up the same topics over and over and over again because they're about harassment, not criticism. They're
blender brain resets.
Because it's harassment, because it's not criticism. So, like, take for example that horse lady's video. She made this video. We debunked it. And they have yet to assail or be able to break down that one response video. It's been over a year, and that video still stands to this day, but they're still trying to push that narrative, even though she said that, oh, well, I didn't mean that. Yeah, you did. And then she goes on and still says it. You did mean that. Well, so, okay.
But that's one of the reasons why we distanced ourselves from Horse Lady to begin with. Bullinator, myself, Reds realized she was a very despicable person who just wanted to cause discord and problems in communities. I mean, she actively sabotages communities. We didn't want to be around that. By the way, so you guys do like the glasses? I love these glasses. I tell you, these things are, I mean, they're simple frame. I like them. They're not unobtrusive. I normally a little self-conscious wearing glasses. I prefer to wear contacts, but I wore a pair of glasses for like a year and a half with one lens in it. This is like great to me. So if you guys think that these are nice glasses, I appreciate it. But what do you guys prefer, glasses or without? I don't. What?
Your pal is asking, Steve, I think I have a response to your WASP argument. Where can I send it? And criticism's great.
Who said it? And so I can address them. Oh yeah, pal. Oh sure. Send it to. I have a couple of different emails. This one I use for public. Steve ask anything at gmail.com. Yeah. And by the way, I want to point it out, a quick segue. I'm not going to get into too technical stuff, but public information is not doxing like this. This is my email for public. I have other emails that only like Chesh and a few other people know. I have some phone numbers, like my cell phone. Only a whole handful of people have my cell phone number. Jess has it, Bull has it, Reds has it, my daughter has it, her mom has it. But I mean, really, not a lot of people have this phone number. But there's a reason for that, right? My mom had. No. My daughter's phone. Sorry. Yeah, you. Oh yeah, of course. Well, why not, man? Your mom's cool as hell. We sit there and chat all the time. Yeah,
I'd probably
chat her up.
I'm not saying that you can't or shouldn't. I was just, what? When did that happen?
Yeah. But yeah, send it to. Oh, the things we find out about you. Yeah, boy, you're put some wine in your mom, and the details about you come out.
If we ever do a roast of any of us, or like if we ever do a roast, you bring my mom and my sister. Bring my sister.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, your sister's already said some pretty impressive things about your guys' growing up. Did you like beat the hell out of her one time or something?
Yeah, kinda. Once, a little bit.
Now she'd kick your ass.
Probably. She's
tough.
yoga strong lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, if there's ever a roast of me, you have to bring my sister. Absolutely. She'd do it too. She'd be like, oh, fuck yeah. So, what do you think of the philosophy? Wholesome to wholesome people, toxic to toxic people?
Is that so? You're basically saying that what the toxic people hang out with the toxic people, and the wholesome people hang out with the wholesome people?
No, how you behave and react and respond to people is based on how they are. So if this
Yeah,
person's
to some
wholesome and
degree.
nice, you're wholesome and nice, and if these people are toxic, you're toxic back. It's like reflecting.
Well, I mean, sort of, kind of. Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I don't like to ever be toxic to anybody. But, like, example, like somebody just like right now on my Twitter, they're just being a nitwit, and I'm not taking them seriously, and I'm not going to take somebody seriously when they just want to come at me sideways, right? I'm not being toxic to them. It's just, why would I waste my time with them? I mean, they're only going to get very short, very curt answers because I'm not just interested in having a dialogue with them. You guys haven't. You guys know her sister. She's been on
That I think
before.
people get upset by.
Yeah.
Like unreasonably so. People are upset if you don't answer them, and it's like nobody's obligated to answer you ever.
Yeah, well, I'll read you this. What they said. It's great, and
Yeah.
you tell me if this even makes sense. They said, because I said to them, they said, yeah, I got my full McCrae treatment: poor social communication skills, contradictions, misrepresentations, garnished with a dash of dishonesty, while missing the topic by a mile. I guess I should have listened to the warnings. And I responded, totes, except you failed miserably to address my, quote, poor communication skills, which actual experts find to be quite well written. And I gave him my gumballs and God better explain, which has stood the test of time. Nobody's refuted that yet. I mean, that is I think, a well-written article. Yeah. And so they respond, and you're still missing the point. Maybe try getting your head out of your ass. It helps with reading and listening. Or maybe you're just incapable of having an honest and respectable discussion. For now, I'll just put you next to Kyle in the, quote, cunt drawer. Bye. And I said, bye. Nothing. Noting you didn't refute my arguments. Go figure. Peace. Now, here's the thing. I've had thousands of videos. I've had how many, in quote, honest and respectful dialogues with honest and respectful people? So this is a dishonest agent. Clearly a dishonest agent that's just saying, hey, Steve can't have an honest dialogue. How many that I've had?
I'm trying to understand what they're trying to say. They're saying that you have poor communication skills and are missing the point. What was the point? Was their point not to assail your argument, and you're saying that they failed to do so? I don't understand what's not clear about that.
I don't know. They weren't really making any point. That's the problem. Yeah.
Toxic philosophy.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, no, it's not a philosophy as in like a logical put together argument in a philosophical sense. It's a philosophy of an approach to communication, and an approach to, it's like a psychological personal philosophy. So do we want to pull up the article or the points, or
yeah, let's do that real quick. Let's pull up an article and see where we're going with that. It's really long. I don't think we're gonna
article
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent it to you on.
Of course you did, and I just failed to recognize that you sent it. That's all.
God cannot fail by definition.
It's not a complete failure, so it's fine.
Makes sense.
All right.
Hey, there we go. So what's the difference between criticism and harassment? What do you think, Steve?
well, kind of what we already went over. But I do like the fact they kind of break it down. There's like, 6 things in here. I'm not going to say all of them kind of hold true, but I think a few of them do kind of hold true. But again, there's no one size fits all. So if you want, how much you just want to read? You want to kind of like start from the what makes a critic, or however you want to do this.
Yeah, we can. I don't know if we care too much about the platform themselves, but I'm gonna skip the first paragraph and then just do the two middle ones. So, Ghoul, if you would like to scroll down a little bit, we're at what makes a critic.
Too far, of course.
Wonderful. On this platform, the critic states their opinion of a work. The nature and content of their opinion doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you think it's racist, misinformed, or totally off base. It's theirs, and they're free to say what they like in that space, even if you hate it. Critics can lead a discussion of the work, and this is the tricky part on social media. They can talk about their feelings for it on Twitter, Facebook, or on social media space of their choice. This is, again, their space. It's just that this space tends to bleed over into other people's spaces. The the author is not allowed to infringe on any of this. Other people can sure, other fans, readers, random people, bots, it's all fair game, but the author isn't allowed to infringe on their space. It's a boundary around it. And inside the boundary, there is a sign saying not yours.
Yep. And I do agree with that. By the way, Bull, you got a noise issue real quick. But somebody points out, Robert Payne says, criticism seeks correction, harassment seeks silencing. And there's something to be true of that. Not always. Sometimes harassment doesn't want to silence, but the harassers don't care about correction, right? Harassment do not care if you want to correct your mistakes or if you get something wrong and you want to be able to correct it and tell people, hey, look, this is how I got wrong, and this is the correct information. They don't care about that, right? But criticism is, hey, I think you made a mistake. Let me give you a fair evaluation of it, and if you agree, then you fix it. If you don't, let's talk about why. Nothing wrong with that. I don't get a lot of people that do that. Very few people actually have fair criticism of what I write, and when they do, we have some great discussions. But look, like even people that I kind of have some respect for, I mean, like for example, a Carrier, right? Twice, Richard Carey wrote a blog about me, and I have nothing against the guy. I mean, he's kind of a friend. I mean, we're supposed to go out to dinner and hang out, and I again, not somebody that I would consider to be anti me, but in his blog, he got a lot of stuff wrong about my positions, and I hate to say it, dishonestly so. And it's a little bit frustrating, right? Because at that point, because I know he was not there to harass me, but I think that he did not steel man me. He did the same thing he did to Bart Ehrman and a few other people, and that kind of interlocutor, I have a very hard time with, because it's like, look, I could sit there for a million times and try to explain what you did, you got wrong, but I don't think they're interested. They're catering to some kind of audience, and it was really disappointing when you see somebody of that caliber say things about my positions that I go, that's not what I said. That's not what I believe. That's just not right. And again, I was warned he does this to everybody. This is a common thing that Carrier has done to a lot of people. But I don't dislike the guy. Does that make sense? I don't like treat him as like he's some kind of harasser. I just think he really goes out of his way to not steel man, but to take the worst possible interpretation of something.
Yeah, he does his shtick and then leaves it alone, though. He's not harassing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's saying something, he got it wrong, and then he moves on to the next thing, or maybe there's some discussion that may or may not happen. Right? He's not going to go on about it for months and months and months and months and then complain that you went on about something for months and months and months by saying that what they're doing is okay. And what this is one of the easiest ways to tell the difference between somebody who's harassing and somebody who is making a critique. Are they addressing points? And do they apply the same rules? Are they consistent? Consistency is such a big tell. This is why a couple of months ago, when we were talking about a little bit more about this, when we did the criticism doesn't hide in shadow type thing, people who are if you want to deal, or you want to know if you're dealing with an honest interlocutor, somebody who honestly doesn't know, the answer is to start off the conversation when they come to you is ask them a question. And it's really simple. It's as simple as saying, where are you on this? Because that's a reasonable question. How much do you know about the situation? Because they're asking about a situation, and there's no point in having, like, where are you going to start? Right? So if you ask that question, it's a legitimate question. Because if somebody says, hey, who's Kyle? And I don't know if they're being honest or not. And I say, okay, well, how much do you know about Non Sequitur Show? And then they get angry at me for asking that question. Well, now I know you're not honest. You're not really trying to know what's going on. You're looking for holes. You're trying to troll, or you're trying to whatever it is that you're trying to do. It's one of the easiest ways to tell. And sometimes it'll take more than one question, one or two. It's so you say, okay, do you know about this? Or, oh, hey, do you know about this? And if they start getting angry or they start getting aggressive over that, so if somebody says, oh, who's Kyle? What's going on with this? And I say, what do you know about the Non Sequitur Show situation? Like, where are you at? And they say, oh, well, I used to watch the show, but I haven't been around for a couple months. And I go, okay, well, are you aware of the litigation at all? And then they get, well, I heard that Steve had a TRO. I go, okay, well, that's
all right. Yeah, that way. Okay, yeah, you're done. Yeah, that's true though. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. Look, if somebody, we're going to take start with the middle ground, and we will determine which way we kind of go depending on how they respond. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's how you should approach these things. Look, I'm me, and I'm not going to be congenial to just everybody who I think is going out of their way to harm my friends. They're obviously going out of the way to harm me. I get used to that, but they know they go after my friends. There's going to be a little bit of an issue there. I'm not going to be congenial to those people. It's not at all
either, though, right? It's not even just going after your friends. Just because you're used to it doesn't mean you should have to deal with it. It doesn't mean you should have to put up with it. Just because you're not
but it's just
an emotional crying woman on a stream doesn't mean that you shouldn't get the same kind. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't get the same kind of support that you would if you were. Right? It's unreasonable to think that, oh, well, just because they can handle it, that they should have to handle it.
Yeah, no, I'm not just disagreeing with that. One thing you might want to point out is where they put those two.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's also as you had said, some conditions of asking them questions and things like that. It's actually where they're asking as well. If you make a fake account to go troll somebody on their YouTube videos, that's not fair criticism, right? If you're, making fake accounts to come my live chat and talk about my daughter or something like that, that's not fair criticism. Those are outright trolls. I don't know how anybody could think otherwise. Yeah. And how many times, and this is the group that we're talking about. This is what they do. It has nothing to do with the arguments any longer at that point, And so it's where you do it, what space you do it at. But
Kate makes a good point. Nothing wrong with asking questions if a legitimate answer is being sought. And
yes,
particularly
absolutely.
when you're talking to somebody who's dealt with this for so long, it's also reasonable to have a little bit of charity if maybe if they're short with you, or if they don't, because again, they don't owe you anything. They don't have to answer your question, whether it's legitimate or not. So sometimes, depending on when and where, people have bad days. There are times when you're just like, this person's just trolling me, I don't care. And
we
maybe
all do
you
that.
weren't.
Sure. Yeah. I've been guilty of that sometimes. I may have overreacted a few times. I'm not going to deny that. I'm human. I think
you're dealing with people trolling you 24/7 and people harassing you 24/7. If you guys want to do
for
something
years,
funsies, right? If you want to do something that's kind of for funsies, and you happen to notice these people around Twitter, go to their search their account, their @, and then put Steve's name in the search bar for the advanced search. And then hit
it's really
latest
bizarre.
And scroll and see how long it takes you before that you find a tweet that's not about Steve. Now, keep in mind that those will only bring up that search will only bring up times that they've used Steve's name. See how long it takes before you find that they're talking about a different Steve.
Because or a nickname of me or Cheshire or
Yeah, but it's only going to bring up times where they've brought up their name, and just the extent of how many tweets there are is
disturbing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
and yet these are people that I want nothing to do with, that I don't even make videos about. I don't talk about. And so they have nothing to respond to, right? They're not even doing any fair criticism of what I'm talking about. They're not criticizing any of my arguments, and they're not criticizing anything I say about them because I don't talk about them.
And then for years, to put the cherry on top of that cake, they accuse you of being the person harassing. Which that's the hilarious part.
This is the part where we just go, what the hell do you think that we've been trying to say for 5 years when we say, look, we don't want to deal with these people because we're not criticizing them. We don't want to deal with them. And yet all they do is try to inject themselves in any conversation throughout the same debunked narratives. And then when you respond to them, like one person said, oh, well, Steve unblocked me one time and that's harassment. And I'm like, because they said something about me that was untrue and that I was about a morally, egregious statement that I addressed. And I'm all of a sudden the harasser? How does that work? How does that work? It doesn't work that way in any stretch of the imagination. But anyways, let's go back to what makes harassment here, because
let's pull this article back up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, by the way, there's actually two Steves in Australia, believe it or not. There's the dancer Steve McRae in Australia. I also have another friend who's a construction worker named Steve McRae that lives in Australia, believe it or not. That's on my Facebook. Yeah, we multiply. Yes. Fun fact.
Jamie is asking an honest question: can someone suggest gay marriage is wrong and be an honest interlocutor? At Chesh at Steve. I am yet to see a calm conversation between two disagreeing parties. The difference.
Go ahead.
Okay, so just because a conversation is heated or not calm doesn't mean it's not necessarily honest. People can be egregiously wrong and come by it honestly. So I would say it's possible. I don't know if I've ever had that conversation. We might be able to do it on non sequitur at some point, but I would say that is possible. Sure.
Yep. And my thing would be what she said. Look, I guess I'm obviously very pro gay marriage, right? I got very upset in 2006 with Prop 8? No, 2008 Prop 8, the California initiative, right? And so I think somebody could say, look, gay marriage is wrong, but then you ask them, okay, what is your moral standing by which you're arguing that? Are you a moral realist? You're a moral anti-realist? Are you a moral relativist? What is it that you think is wrong? Sure, they can be an honest interlocutor if that's what they really believe. Now, if they don't actually believe that and they're trying to argue it for some kind of contrarianism or just to be a dick, then that's not an honest interlocutor. Right? Somebody asked, did you make a Facebook group to talk about at Doc's Crystal Ball? No, I've never made a Facebook group for that. That's an easy answer. I do have but it's funny you mentioned that. I do have a new Facebook group that I have started. I'm the only member right now because I was trying to get it all done. But I am starting a Guardian one that a few other people might be working with me on it. I have probably 4 more rules to go, but then again, I was like, maybe we just release it. So once I'm ready to go public on that, I'll put the link out. But I wanted a place where people could go for the Facebook group to talk about the Guardian that Mark Pellegrino was talking about, and more specifically, how to get resources to deal with bullying and trolling and these people that are dishonest interlocutors, right? And so I think Cheshire and I have some really good tips. I know a lot of people have tips on Twitter. And I think that's a good place to kind of consolidate it so they can just go there and have those resources. So I am starting a Facebook group for that.
Yeah, resources are a good thing to have access to just in general. It's also very important.
But the Facebook group that she's referring to, real quick, the Facebook group she's referring to is actually
not an echo chamber.
Yeah, it is actually Tina's group. I didn't start that. That was started by Ashley Siren from 16 and Pregnant. I took over admin called Make Me a Mod, and then I gave it to Tina. So those are called facts, by the way. Yeah.
And no, okay. They deleted their comment, so whatever. Okay. Do we want to go back to that article?
Yeah, let's do that.
Sweet. So we're at what makes harassment. A harasser, or more popularly a troll, is different. A troll can critique, but a critic never trolls. But a critic never trolls. If you, as a critic, find yourself doing any of the following, there's a pretty good chance you are no longer a critic, but a troll, because you can definitely slide from one to the other. 1, if you parse through the author or the reviewer's social media to find incriminating subject matter for you to post on your platform, you're probably a troll. 2, if you incite people to spam or dogpile.
Let's go through each one individually, I think. Let's go through each individually. So read one again. Yeah.
If you parse through the author's or other reviewers' social media to find incriminating subject matter for you to post on your platform, you're probably a troll.
Yeah, I actually like this one. I think this is one of my favorite.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because the commentators, I'm not part of the commentator community. I don't do commentary because it's a very difficult format. Two, you have to be really up on the latest stuff, and I'm not that interested in it. But with the commentator account, what they do is they basically say, hey, look, I saw this. I'm gonna to address it. But they don't go digging into people's personal history. They don't go on every single social media just to try to find something to go, I have a gotcha, right? And so people will look at my timeline, and they'll go out of the way to find something that is completely innocuous, but try to make drama out of it. That is a troll,
or
straight up troll.
Yep.
Or yeah. So I really think that I agree with number one. Do you agree with number one?
Oh yeah, number one. That's actually a really good one. I like number one.
Yeah, that's my favorite out of all this. Yeah. All right, so next.
Or they'll say, like, they'll show a screenshot, and what they're saying about that screenshot is not what that screenshot says. And they're just trying to, like, emotionally manipulate people. 2, if you incite people to spam or dogpile the authors or other reviewers' social media platforms, you're probably a troll.
Yeah, the troll armies, right? Calling out the troll armies to go dox people or to go flag a video to their blogs. Yeah, I think that definitely qualifies as well.
So I've had this happen to me on 2 occasions. Specifically 2, well, maybe 3, but specifically 2 occasions that I'm fine. 3, yeah, 3. So one was the SJW community that tried to take something that I said out of context and mass flag me for it. It didn't work. Another one was an account tried to come in and harass me in DMs. And then I asked them to leave me alone. They refused. I said, how long before I can just share this publicly? And they're like, well, you can't because your community doesn't like it, like when people share DMs without permission. And I've always said my DMs are public, so.
Yeah, you can't really hold her to the same standard, right? I mean, because she's made it very clear that I made it very clear that I don't share DMs. It's like absolutely have to, and it's very, very rare. Again, I don't like absolutism, right? There's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but people know when they come to me, they know they can trust me, that their conversation is going to be private. As a matter of fact, everybody, I'm telling you right now, most people in my live chat have probably communicated things to me that they know is not going to get out, or we've had private conversations, and I respect that. And here's the difference. I'll tell you, I sent my entire Twitter to my lawyer. My entire thing. You can download. I don't know if you guys know this, but you can download everything you've ever written to anybody, and anything that's ever written to you. It's never been deleted. It's still there. It does exist, but it's in a zip file, and you go to your data, and so you can go to and you request it, and they'll send it to you, and you can download your entire history on Twitter. And I sent that to my lawyer, and I told him, I was like, and wait for the punchline here, so it's not taken out of context. I said, it's a good thing that we have attorney-client privilege for what you might find in there. And then I said, LOL, just kidding. There ain't shit in there I give a crap about. Because it's true. There's nothing that's incriminating in there. I don't care. I'm not worried about getting my stuff out there to any degree. It's just, certain people you want to talk a little more on a friendly, familiar level with, like with Chesh or with Bull. I get that, right? But I'm more concerned with people sending stuff to me that might get out there. Now, I hope people recognize I sent it to my lawyer. Obviously, it's confidentiality there, so your thing. He doesn't care what somebody messaged to me, right? He doesn't care that. I sent it to him.
You want the big disagreement drama between me and Steve? Commas.
Oh God, you don't even know. She's legit like comma. She's a comma queen. I mean, it's just like. I like commas. Don't get me wrong. Oxford comma, yes, but I mean, she goes way over. I mean, she will edit my blog or something, and it'd be like comma, 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 and I'm like, no, I don't want this. That's crazy.
I don't want all these commas.
Yeah.
How do I even hold all these commas?
Yeah, I don't know what you Canadians do up there, but.
Yeah, the second time that this happened to me was that person in DMs. And so what I did was, instead of making the DMs public because they're persecution narrative, I decided to say, I just asked the community. I said, hey guys, how many times do I have to tell somebody to leave me alone in DMs before it's considered harassment? The consensus ended up being 3. One time lightly, second time if you're being more serious and more to the point, and the third time is like, no, they should be fucking off for sure.
Yeah.
So I tagged that person, and they lost their shit and made it very obvious, like, that they were the ones that were doing this. And so what they did was they deleted their entire account, but not before they tagged a bunch of people saying, it's time to go after Chesh and take her down. And who did they tag? Oh, gee, I wonder. The same people have been harassing Steve for years? Wow! Go figure! Oh no! And the last time that happened to me was when I made an analogy comparing what they were doing to somebody else, and then they mass flagged me, and now I'm stuck in my one Twitter account is stuck in
limbo.
What is it? Suspension limbo?
Purgatory. Suspension purgatory. So that one person, by the way, had messaged me and they said, well, the reason why I don't address your arguments is because I agree with you. Duh. You know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, so basically for the last 2 days, all that you had to say was I agree with you, and that's it? When, you know, I mean, you're just wasting my time and yours. So I'm like, okay, bye. Yeah, I'm like, okay, that was fun. Great. I had a great time. I hope it was good for you too. You know, I don't understand these people at all, man. I just don't. They think they're like getting you. Well, hey, Steve, you know, you're not understanding this because I do understand you, you know, and I agree with you, but you know, you don't want to have an honest conversation. What is there to have an honest conversation with if you just say, look, I agree with you? I don't know, man.
A good example of number 2 would also be that Discord screenshots that we saw back when Unirock was like, hey, go find anything related to any of Steve's friends about and we're gonna go after them.
He still does that.
False. Yeah, exactly. It's still going on. But yeah, that would be number 2.
Yeah.
What you're
He's
doing
not the only one, but yeah, Unirock has definitely done that. Hey, he tells his little minions, go find whatever you can on people. He doesn't check the veracity of it. He doesn't care if it's true or not. They look for dirt. That's a troll. I have never told anybody, hey, go find out what you can about this person. I never cared. It's so funny. People are like, hey, Steve, people did background checks on you. And I'm thinking, what the hell? Who does this? You know how many background checks I've done anybody? 0.
I'd like to do
really bizarre
tertiary searches of people who I'm talking about. I don't mean like I go into their background. I don't mean that I go into like look into super.
No, but you see they got a YouTube channel.
I check their channel to see what they're talking about. I look at because if I'm interviewing somebody, I want to know what to talk about. I want to know what they're interested in. I want to know things that we might.
You don't do an FBI check on them?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I don't care about their financial information. Right? I don't care about like whatever scandals they've been part of unless I'm talking about that scandal, in which case I would like to know a little bit about it before jumping into this.
Exactly. All right, so let's go to number 3.
If you spread
okay, you can read it.
If you spread the personal contact information of an author or another reviewer in hopes that others will attack them in real life, you're almost certainly a troll. Yes.
Interesting. Yes. And, you know, like, here's the thing. I've already said public information is public information, but there's no reason to really put it out. I mean, my address is public. My information is public. My telephone number is public. That I have actually not this one, but my V over IP is public. And if people want to put that out to contact me, I got no problem with that. But if they put it out for saying, oh, look, go just to harass this person, one, I have filters. It doesn't really, they just speak into the void. But that would be what a troll would do, right? I mean, even though it's public information, I just tell people to avoid doing that, even the impropriety of it, because it looks bad, right?
Yeah, it's not a good look. If you can avoid it, don't do it.
Yeah,
it's because it's not relevant information, unless for some reason
I mean, like my blog.
Relevant information.
Well, my blogs you can leave comments on, and yes, I've had to delete comments that were completely irrelevant to the blog, and it's not that hard to do. Then you just block that person and they can't leave a comment again. So it's really simple to fix. But, you know, if somebody said, hey, go to Steve's, blog and, say all the stuff about it. Yeah, that's trolling, and plus, like I said, it's a complete waste of their time to do so, but they don't realize that. That's probably why they don't.
Yeah. It doesn't really make sense for you to put somebody's personal information like their house or something out there. The only time that would make sense is if whatever scandal or whatever story or whatever drama you might be talking about or whatever you're reporting on is related to that place. So it might not be relevant to talk about where somebody's from unless you're saying that, hey, the reason why this went down in court this way is because they're in this state. You're still not giving out their personal information, but you're giving a closer location because that matters to what you're talking about. If you're saying that this person got this much money to pay for this thing, and then they bought a house, and here's the house so you can see how much the house was worth, you don't have to necessarily put the address of that house, but you can give that as an example. And now you're starting to get a little bit more into their personal stuff, but you're still talking about what is going on with the situation.
It's related to the story, though.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's related to the story. Yeah. Look, if somebody put out my number just to have people try to call me and harass me, that would be trolling, right? But if somebody says, "Hey, look, here's Steve's number," you know, and I put out my number before because I don't care who calls it, because again, it's a voice over IP. It just goes to voice. You know? I just get a. I love the way it works, because I don't know if you guys use voice over IP, but Google will actually translate the message for you, and you just get a text. You know, so I like that. You just block the person if you don't like it. You're like, "Oh, block, done." All right, number 4. Go ahead.
If you excessively attack the authors or other reviewers' updates on social media, you're probably a troll.
Number 1, yes, I think this is like this is almost bigger than the first one. Yeah, and again, this isn't. Yes, hi, Keon. Exactly. It's not defending yourself too. Look, you can make a dozen, 2 dozen, 100 videos on somebody. That's not trolling if you're defending yourself. You're talking about the topics. But when you're scouring their social media just so you can fabricate, you could contrive something to make a video out of for Drama for Donos, for vape juice, or for Red Bull, or just, you know, to line your pockets, that to me is the quintessential, definitive characteristic, an essential property, to speak. And if you wanted to appeal to essentialism, that is an essential component almost of trolls that I see happening.
Criticism.
Yeah, that's not criticism at that point. That is straight up harassment. You never have seen me do that ever. I've always will respond to somebody after, you know, I've seen a video or something. Most of the time, people sent me, you know, they're like, "Hey, Steve, did you see this?" And you guys know you do it.
Weird thing
No.
that I have with like the drama commentary community. Because I'm like, okay, I get that you're talking about this situation, and you're talking about these people, and you're giving your opinions on the situation. But when you get facts of the situation wrong, it runs more like tabloidy. And it's like, well, but I can say what I want because it's my opinion. And it's like,
No, you really can't.
Your opinion is based on the wrong information, which makes your opinion wrong. Because guess what? Opinions can be wrong. You can be incorrect.
Yeah, I again, you know, there are certain things you can and got to say on YouTube. There are some obviously community guidelines. There's TOS, but there's also ethical considerations. I will never go out of my way ever to make a video that I know is dishonest. That's the difference between me and somebody like Unirock. That's all he does, right? And so we have a very strong dichotomous situation. This is why probably he hates me more than anybody else on the planet, because we have such a fundamental disagreement in our ethical considerations. Nobody's ever seen me make a video where I didn't stand by it and go, "This is what I believe." Nobody. Right? If I got something wrong, I will fix it, and I do.
Right.
He doesn't care. I mean, that's why we probably are polar opposites on the communities out there. His community is unlike my community. I don't want to have anything to do with this community. He doesn't want to have anything to do with my community, and that's just, people can decide for themselves who they want to be a part of. The people that want to help people, or the people who want to harm people. That's it.
Unirock is like the extreme negative side of like a commentary or a drama channel or like a tea channel. And not all of them are like that, obviously. Like they do not want to be defined by Unirock. Why would they?
No.
Like, bottom of the barrel shit. But at the same time, they kind of exist in space between criticism and like it's like a tabloid. And you have to treat it that way.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yep. All right, number 5.
In my opinion, allegedly.
I'll do number 5.
Number 5.
If you create, I love this one too. If you create numerous accounts to further your own opinions of the author's or reviewer's work, you're probably a troll. How many times has this happened? How many people have had troll accounts go on their video and run the same debunked narrative scripts that have been going out there for years just because they want it out there, and then, you know, they might get 1 or 2 people that respond, but most people don't even care any longer. It's just mind-boggling how many fake accounts some people have had. It's mind-boggling, and yet they'll make the same accusations for like us. I could tell you right now, on Twitter, there's only 1 account that I've ever had that I have communications with anybody with. 1 account. That's my main one. Now I have other accounts, yes, but I don't tweet to anybody. I don't DM with anybody on them. Just this one. And so when people say I'm engaging on some kind of fake account, never has happened.
So I had the one that I'm currently using, which was a more personal account, one that was more for business, which is the one that is currently in appeal purgatory, and then there's one for that time of the month.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty amazing that when you have somebody that has like 40 accounts. I mean, how many accounts have Keon and Agrippa gone through?
Things, right? So the way Twitter, in particular, terms of service works is that you can have as many accounts as you want. They just can't be doing the same thing. So if you'll notice, the account that I have right now doesn't have my YouTube linked. It doesn't have my Patreon linked. It's not sharing when I'm going live all the links. It retweets them. It it will say that, oh, I'm going live because of this, this, and this, or something's going on, but it doesn't promo my work. It does not work the same way my old account did. It doesn't show my artwork. It doesn't show, like, very rarely. Once in a while, there's something that goes out on there that is art because I'm sharing it for specific reasons. Not promotion. That's not what it is.
Yep.
And so that account does not behave the same way this does. But if you've got like one of these troll accounts where they've got 4, 5, 6, 11 accounts that are all just because, oh, this one got blocked, so I moved to the next one. Oh, this one got blocked. Or this one account needs more support, so I jump in to talk to my own account to make it look like there's more people that agree with me.
And they get busted doing that. They get caught. Justin Franks makes a brilliant point. He's exactly right. He says, in their minds, anybody on Steve's side is a sock account by Steve. And you know what? That has actually helped me so much because all these people that were accused of being socks, of my sock, are real people. And so they're all like, hey, we know that this is BS because we're not Steve. All of them, every sock account that I've ever in my life that people have said is mine is not me. Every single time. They're like, this is one of Steve's socks. I'm like, what the hell? No. And every time. Like,
and also, the reason I think that they're so willing to make that accusation is because it's the kind of thing that they engage in, because they're the ones with hundreds and hundreds of sock accounts in some cases.
Yes, I guarantee it. If I ever decided to make a sock account on Twitter where I was engaging people to pretend it's not me, you're not going to know, probably. I would take lessons from Chesh. I'd be like, okay, Chesh. But she doesn't do it either. But I'm sure she knows how. She's skilled. But I've never seen her do it either. Never once. As a matter of fact, I will go on record to say I thought she had a sock account that was her. That wasn't her. I made that mistake even. And I apologize.
We totally thought that was me. And I'm like,
totally thought it was you.
Me, dude.
I swear to God, I thought it was you.
Let me guess. Let me guess. Without a crystal ball? Account. Without any crystal balls, rather?
No, I don't. No.
I thought the Katie for Dumb Fuck of the Year 2019 account was me.
Oh, okay, cool. I could see that. I could see it. Yeah.
So it can happen. We can make these mistakes, right? But I can tell you that every time people have said this is Steve's sock account, that's been a real person. Every single solitary time. And sometimes I know who they are, sometimes I don't. Most of them I don't. But the ones that do go, what the hell? It's like, why do they think that I'm you? And I'm like, I don't know. You've been on even air with me sometimes. Ink Point for £2 or €2. Just give a boop to Puck and nobody gets hurt. Give him a boop. Give him a boop.
Well, he's not here right now.
No Puck.
And this is not my channel. Puck gets booped for super chats over on my channel. But just because it's Inkboy and Inkboy is fantastic, I will give Puck a boop later when he's nearby.
Okay, he gets a boop.
He'll get a boop.
You can boop yourself. Go boop yourself.
On that.
Boop. All right, number 6. Last and least.
Number 6.
Least, I guess.
If you post extensive negative comments on other reviewers' sites in disagreement of their opinion, there's a pretty good chance you're a troll. In my own estimation, you have to do this a lot and do it quite vehemently for it to count.
Oh, does that happen? There are videos, if anybody has me on, they will go out of their way to go start putting all this vitriol in there. And most times they just get removed, right? Most times they get blocked. Because even the people...
like the cyber stalking part of things.
Well, it gets to the point that there's not even relevant conversation any longer. People just going there to harass. Most of these content creators don't like that. They don't want those people around. And that's not censorship. I remove comments. I block people all the freaking time. You have no choice to be a successful YouTube channel, I don't think. But I guarantee it, somebody comes in, hey, Steve, I think you're wrong about this, this, and this. I'm fine about it. I have a lot of comments on my videos like that, and I will try to address it as much as possible. But as soon as they start saying dishonest things, they start bringing up personal things, I give them a chance to apologize, and when they don't, I remove them.
Oh, we'll put that back, because I want to read these last couple paragraphs, because this is really telling. If you're exploring, but not all of these qualify someone as a troll on their own, but you'll see a common theme here, leaving what is your space to go into someone else's, something like an aggressive invasion. So you guys count one in the chat if you guys think that that they tick off, like how many of the, sorry, not one in the chat. How many of these do you think Steve's trolls tick off? If you're exploring someone's personal social media feed for the sole purpose of attacking them, that's likely harassment or intent to harass. If you're actively finding someone else's opinion that are in disagreement with your own and you go onto their platforms and wage an exhausting fight over it, that's probably trolling. If you then incite people to dogpile on in agreement with you, that's probably harassment. In other words, when you leave your platform, your personal space of the internet, and go to someone else's or even to a community platform, it requires a different code of behavior. This isn't your space anymore. You need to act differently. And remember, you've had your say back on your own platform. That's the place to speak your mind.
And I agree with that. This is why, here's the funniest part. I don't go to any of their videos and leave comments. Go look. Why? Because one, half the time I don't watch their videos, and second time, the ones that I do are not worth responding to. Now, I have before, I have screenshots of me messaging.
Into
I was going to say real quick, I have...
really good example. Sorry, we're getting lag. Go ahead, Steve.
Lag. Yeah. Canadian internet. Like back when Nate was making videos, I would comment on there, hey, look, this is dishonest, dude. You're making a dishonest video. You've done Frankenstein cuts. You took this out of context. You got the logic wrong, blah, blah. And then, this was years ago. But then after a point, it's like, okay, he's not even interested in being honest, right? Why bother at that point, right? So I'm not saying that I haven't done, left comments on negative videos before, but after a while, you recognize they're not honestly engaging, right? They're not honestly making a video to critique you. They're doing it to harass you. And at that point, I'm not going to have any interest whatsoever. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a difference between that. It doesn't mean never leave a negative comment. It doesn't mean never leave a comment on someone else's channel giving them a critique of what's going on, but state your opinion, why it's your opinion, and justify it, right? Like that's the way to explain that. And if they remove your comment, they remove your comment. Make your own video about it if you really want to. That's fine. But when you're just constantly going to other people's platforms and stealing their content, if we're gonna bring Keon into this,
who directly downloads videos and then puts them up. Well, that channel's actually got deleted, from what I understand, because he was
copyright. So there's a when you actively go with multiple accounts to go and lie about people under their stuff, you're gonna get removed. You're gonna get deleted. This is not your space anymore. And it doesn't mean you can't criticize, but a lot of what we were talking about, you're not criticizing. You're allowed to have your opinion. Nobody's saying you can't have your opinion, but nobody has to listen to your opinion or platform your opinion. It's really not that complicated.
Yeah, and by the way, if you guys aren't following us on Twitter, you might want to, because a lot of this comes from Twitter, and so, if you're not following us, then you're probably going, a lot of this doesn't make sense to us. But like, for example, like this one person, I have no idea who this person is, straight up no idea. They follow me, I don't follow them. But they're like, I don't know who Steve is, and I'm not some sock account by him. I don't know why you're calling me basically, a simp or troll or, Steve fan. He's like, they know nothing. They're not, they follow me, but they don't really know anything about me. but they want to talk about, okay, well, what is it you're arguing here? And they never get an answer from anybody of what. First of all, when the trolls come by, they will do one or two things. They'll obviously put the same, debunk stuff out there, hoping that the new person is not familiar with it. And then when the person says, what we tell people to do is ask for evidence, the trolls get angry. How dare you ask for evidence? Yes.
It's the
single
why
solitary
don't you believe
time.
Me? Yeah.
You're just Steve. Yeah, you're sycophant for Steve, and yet they're like, we don't barely even know him. We're just asking for evidence.
There's a really good example of this. It was when Steve was on Modern Day Debates. And I think you and Sweet Heathen looked at the comments. I think I showed up eventually. There's like 1 or 2 videos where that happened, where you were looking at the comment section of Modern Day Debates where you had debated somebody about philosophy, atheism or something. And almost none of the comments had anything to do with your argument. Almost none. There was like 1, and the guy had just misunderstood something, and that was it. It was like one of the Snake was right ones or something. I can't remember. And like we had Snake was right on with us, and we were able to reach an understanding after like 3 debates.
And, like, somewhat. I mean, I think he kind of backpedaled a little bit, but it was still a productive dialogue.
Well, yeah, your talks with Snake were at least amicable and, you know, I wouldn't say over intellectually, but you know, you were not talking at the same level at first, and you got him there, I think.
He was better than the Duke.
Oh yeah.
Not that was a high bar. Yeah, not that was a high bar to meet.
I was gonna say, G-Man might be better than the Duke, Steve. Just saying.
Yes, I think you might be right.
I would rather talk to G-Man. I would rather talk to G-Man.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my own issues with G-Man, but I'm trying to look past a lot of that stuff. You know, history. But if I was going to have a conversation about this stuff, I'd probably rather talk to G-Man than the Duke. Yes. Don't tell G-Man that though.
Oh. But yeah, there's a big difference, right? So people going and having their opinions and their critiques of Steve as a person and not addressing the arguments in a video about the argumentation, they're out of their space, they're out of their element. They've gone to follow Steve to another platform to lie and complain and cherry pick and do all of the things from 1 to 6 on a third party's comment section. Completely off topic.
Well, I've had them move a conversation from that was in one chat. I was moderating Soundly's chat a few years ago. It was 24/7 chats, right? So we took turns basically. It was kind of like shift work. It was just a chat. The video itself was repeating his videos over and over again. It was just not. There was no interaction with the video. Mm-hmm. So I get into an argument with a flat earther in there, and Soundly had very specific things to ban people about and things to ban people on. You didn't ban people. You timed them out over and over again if they didn't have evidence, if they kept arguing with no evidence, just so that you could have the chat open to have that conversation with people who really did want to learn, but you didn't ban them. And then but this person started attacking me personally. So I banned them, and I told Soundly, and that person went to my YouTube comment section to try to reopen dialogue with me.
Is that the okay? I might know about the situation. Is that somebody who came to me asking about why they were banned from the GDC Discord that I have nothing to do with?
Or is that something different? Think so. This is way before we had Discords.
Okay.
This is we're talking 2016, 2017 kind of. Basically, the person's name was Loci3. This was the account name, so. And it was all over Flat Earth stuff. It was weird too because they're like, well, why does Soundly need mods? Because he's not here all the time. He can't watch a 24/7 live stream in physically, so he needs help.
Why would somebody have mods? What?
Right? He's like, but I can get a crown. See, he's acting like the position is just some kind of status thing. It was bizarre.
Oh yeah, there are people who think being a mod is like a huge big deal and that like it matters, and it's like it's really not. It's really not that big of a deal. I mean, I get when people get excited because they get to involve themselves more in a community sometimes. But yo, that one dude that when we had that rogue mod on Steve's channel, and so we removed all mods, this one guy was like demanding to keep his wrench, and I was like, no, bro, that dude hates me. It's amazing.
Can I give you an example of something that just blows my freaking mind?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm literally at a loss here. So you guys
Yeah,
remember on Friday I talked.
So yes.
Yeah, so you guys remember on Friday? No, I was on yesterday. I'm sorry. I did a thing on math, right, on the PEMDAS, right, in order operations. That always comes around every so often, right? And so there's a tweet out there about this problem, and you know Puddle, right? Puddle.
Yes.
Puddle said, Puddle was talking to Misha. Puddle was talking to Misha Griffith. He had a little bit of a kind of pulling her leg, not pulling, but I mean a little bit of a fun, like Puddle does, right? And he says, "I see what you're getting at. You can't math. Stay in your lane," right? And her response is this, and I'm not even in this thread, so I really want people to help me wrap my head around this, please. And by the way, Puddle hasn't been around a very long time. He's just started to come back in the scene, a couple days ago. This was 4 hours ago, and this was Dr. Griffith's response. The woman that I had helped get started her channel, the woman that I thought was a very respectable, nice grandma-type figure that I cared about, she replied this: "Why are you attacking me, Puddle Fitz? Because McCrae said I was fair game? Why can't you people have a discussion without ridiculing and bullying the other person?" What the fuck?
I don't even know where that comes from. I don't know where that comes from.
Bullshit. How dare you, Dr. Griffith? How fucking dare you put my name in that when I'm talking about math to a person who just started coming around, making it imply that you were somehow fair game? You can go fuck yourself. How dare you? That's so goddamn despicable. For you to try to make it sound like I'm trying to tell people to go after you, that has never fucking happened, because I actually gave a damn about you and the things that you went through, and you had the audacity to say some shit like that, you are not going to start doing that bullshit, hanging out with these people, and just because you hang out with these disgusting people like Unirock, thinking that Unirock is the savior of mankind, because you sit there and just basically kiss his ass all the freaking time, and then try to come after me sideways. No, I'm not going to put up with that. You're wrong, Dr. Griffith. How dare you? And I seriously hope to God you come to a Jesus moment and start recognizing that you're not on the side of righteousness. You're not on the side of ethics. You are being a piece of shit when you don't bring up my name in a math problem to somebody who has basically has no relationship to me whatsoever, merely because you are for some reason against me because I've done nothing to you. Yeah, you can fuck off. That's the difference between criticism and harassment. I've given you fair criticism. Nobody's ever harassed you, Dr. Griffith. I've never told anybody to go harass you, and you're not fucking fair game. What you say is fair game, just like anybody else's. Same with me. But that's bullshit what you just did. Absolute bullshit. Am I wrong in this, Jess? Am I wrong in this? Please.
No, you're correct. They're saying that they're saying that you've sent people after them because
for a math problem?
Made a joke. Has nothing to do with you. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Dr. Griffith is a historian. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So Puddle's joke is that you're a historian, you don't do math. That's the joke.
Yes.
So you end
Puddle.
up in this...
Puddle is a little bit...
Her response has fuck all to do with math, though. It really does.
Right. So what you end up with is now somebody has made a joke to her that has nothing to do with Steve at all. She then makes it about Steve and uses it to say that criticizing her means that Steve sent people after her to attack her.
Yeah, she says this. She said PEMDAS is clearly
any criticism as an attack, even if it's a joke.
Yeah, she says this. Let me say this. She says PEMDAS is clearly wrong method to teach math because it doesn't take into account working from left to right instructions. And his point was, you're a historian, not a mathematician. And she's wrong. I mean, and if you want to have a discussion about PEMDAS and you want to discuss about order of operations, and this was the same woman who said my logic was wrong. And when people had asked her, okay, what is wrong with Steve's logic? She made it all personal again. I have no respect for people like that.
She's tipping
trolling.
She's tipping off the trolls. So she's been blocked and hasn't been around us since basically last December, and she called us Machiavellian because we blocked her when she blocked us, which is bizarre. She still got us blocked, and so what is happening is that she's detracting from the point. So let's mark these off. Number one, if you parse through an author or a reviewer's social media to find incriminating subject matter, she's trying to incriminate Steve. She's inciting. Is she inciting people to dogpile or spam? Yes. 3, if you spread personal contact information, not doing that. That's not happening. If you excessively attack the author or the reviewer's updates on social media, you're probably a troll. But she is doing that because she's talking on your thread that you about order of operations. If you create numerous accounts, I don't think she's done that as far as I'm aware.
No.
So.
No, I don't think
and 6, if you post excessive negative comments on other reviewers' sites. Yes. So she's marking off
and here's the thing.
4 out of 6 at least.
You can tell when I actually treated somebody as a friend, and to direct proportion at how emotional I get, because I don't get emotional very often, but I did care about her, and there's other people that I thought were my friends that weren't. Those are the reasons I tend to get a little more animated on those situations, because I want people to recognize I am serious about that. I am very hurt when I have people that I consider were friends that have turned to such a degree and literally have gone out of the way to hurt me, my friends, and lie about me. And here we could have had a great discussion on why PEMDAS is taught the way it is, and people misunderstand it, and talk a little bit about math. But no, it didn't turn into that. It turned into, oh, I'm going to bring up Steve's name for no reason whatsoever.
I'm going to bring up Steve's name, saying
no
that criticism directed at me is an attack that has been sent by Steve. That's what she's
exactly.
Saying.
That's exactly what she's doing. Exactly. And so I find her to be she is morally reprehensible at this point. This is what I consider to be exactly harassment and trolling when people do that.
Yes. And so here's the thing. Now it's going to be, oh, Steve said bad things about her, so he's harassing her. No, he's responding to some shit she's saying.
Yeah,
because she's lying.
Fair criticism. Absolutely.
Golden Unicorn for Pride says they insert themselves in conversations and then cry victim when they get pushback while they obsess over someone who's not even part of that conversation? ? Since technically yes and no in this case. So Steve was part of this conversation because.
Well, no, I wasn't in this thread though. This was not. I was not in this thread. I'm not even. I'm not in this thread. Yeah.
Oh,
this was Lizzie Lang's thread.
You're not even in the thread? Oh,
I'm not even in that thread. Yeah. To my knowledge, I don't think that I am.
The answer is the stay in your lane applies to this isn't your space. This isn't what it's the same thing that people complain about when Richard Dawkins talks about philosophy. This isn't your space. This isn't your space.
Again,
it's the same thing with Aaron. This isn't your space.
Well, this is what I'm saying. She actually has said, Misha has said, hey, Steve's logic is wrong, blah, 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 and she got pushback from it. Not because I told people to go tell her that she's wrong. No, didn't say a goddamn thing about it. She got pushed back because she's wrong, and people are pointing out to her, look, if you're going to Steve says, why don't you learn about the topic before you go after Steve? I don't go after her about history because I don't know shit about history, but there are people that do, and if she got something wrong, they would point it out to her, right? But they have told her, look, if you're going to say Steve's arguments and logic is wrong, why don't you actually provide a decent caliber refutation? You got a PhD, you know how to do, refutation, but she never has. And I don't understand why, because I can tell you right now, I've never done a damn thing against that woman. I did nothing but support her, did nothing but care about her. We helped her get started on her unsettled history from the Non Sequitur show. It really does bother me that she decided to suck up to Uni Rock of all people, and other people thinking that they're the moral high ground people merely because we blocked people we didn't want to be associated with because they were disgusting, morally reprehensible people that she now befriended and for some reason thinks they are the quintessential paragon of virtue. And it wasn't just, by the way,
you were to
Unirock. Nick, wait, hang on. She's also friends now with, of course, Nick Suter, that we have nothing to do with. She has friends with, she was Kyle, the whole group of people we don't want anything to do with. Nate Brody. Yeah, she thinks these are the paragon of virtue. Okay.
There's if you're looking at this from the outside, if you're not familiar with the situation, it would be very easy to come to the conclusion that she used you. She never liked you, never cared about you, was never interested in you, except when you had non sequitur in those numbers. And as soon as you didn't have those numbers anymore, and she saw numbers, followed the numbers somewhere else, and decided and thought that it was more effective shitting on Steve, so she used you. Now,
you do get that does bother me, right? Whether that's true or not, it hurts. It has to hurt to hear. Yeah. I mean, I'm not some automatron. I'm not somebody that doesn't have any emotions, for God's sake.
I'd be concerned if it didn't bother you. That'd be more concerning. I'm
getting a twitch in my eye. That's I'm literally getting a twitch right here. That's all.
I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's what she was doing or has been doing, or if she was even consciously aware that might be the case of what she was doing. I don't know. This is simply an easy conclusion to come to if you're looking at this from the outside, and if you're not necessarily as familiar with the way non sequitur, I wasn't around at the time. I wasn't really involved in the production of non sequitur when that was going on. I helped out in the background later down the line after their show got started. But you're in a situation where what other conclusion are you to come to? She has yet to be able to articulate what her problem is with Steve outside of Steve harassed somebody. Where? Oh, you're just attacking me because Steve sent you. Where is anything that you're saying? The answer is you're bullshitting, and you're either bullshitting because you're too stupid to look at evidence, or you're too offended and emotional about whatever it is that you think is You're a snowflake. You're a fucking snowflake. That's what it is.
Yeah. I don't think she understands that you can have constructive criticism. I criticized a long time ago something she said about the logic stuff, and before I had blocked her, and I even told her, "Look, you're being
able to take criticism."
Well, I even told her, I said, "Look, I was very blunt. I was like, look, if you want to come at me for my logic, and you just want to say my logic is wrong, do so intellectually. Do not come at me sideways." And I was very blunt with her. Do not pull this bullshit with me. If you think I got something wrong, then show it. But she never did, and other people noticed that as well.
Mm-hmm. And now she pulls shit like this.
And now she pulls shit like this.
It's petty. It's petty and vindictive. That's what it is.
I don't understand it. I really don't.
I'm amazed how people make accusations without any proof just to escape pushback and accountability. Stop playing victim to escape your own mistakes. Stop blaming other people for your shit.
I don't know. It's just like I said, I think, we've demonstrated the difference between harassment and criticism. What she did to me was harassment. That's not criticism. By bringing up my name, that had nothing to do with anybody, to a person who I really don't associate with, who hasn't even been around.
That checks 4 out of the 6 of the boxes in one tweet. In one tweet. That doesn't even give me the to go look. The tweets were deleted. You should probably delete that tweet because it makes you look like a fucking asshole. Because you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, straight up. I don't think Dr. Griff ever watches my stuff, but if she ever does, that makes you look so bad you have no idea. I mean, I don't even know how somebody in good conscience could think that you bringing up my name in a math thing that is objective, where there's a conversation that could have been had about PEMDAS, because I had one on Sunday, that if you weren't such a shitty person anymore, you could have came and joined, and we probably could have discussed it as an adult.
Had an interesting conversation.
But that's not ever going to happen any longer. That to me has been that bridge has been burned.
As of now, to be fair, you've been frustrated with her in the past, and I think this is finally the straw that broke the camel's back there. I think you were holding a vote for her for a long time.
Yeah, I really was, because I cared about it. But as I pointed out to people, I don't burn bridges. Other people burn bridges, and what I do is I make bridges in other directions. Right? I'm not somebody who thinks that bridges can be repaired. I actually, very rarely does that ever happen. I'm not an optimist when it comes to that. There are people out there that I care about a lot that tell me, hey, Steve, You can always repair things. I don't accept that, but I respect their opinion on
It's
that.
because
Right? That's
you wait so long before you're willing to let that bridge go. There's the difference, right? So
Yes.
because it takes so long to actually burn that bridge with you, there is no repairing it. Whereas like some people think a damaged bridge is a burned bridge, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't burn bridges. I let them burn them, and if that's their choice, then I just, like I said, I start building bridges with other directions. I've made other friends. I met other people that are not shitty human beings. And I'm sorry, at this point, she's a shitty human being to me, and I hate that because I had so much respect for that woman. She was good at what she did. We got along. We never had an argument, and all she started hanging out with shitty people, and all of a sudden her brain went 180 degrees. And I will never be able to understand it. I will never be able to wrap my mind around it. But I have to accept reality. I have to accept that this happens to people. What's that?
I guess she was talking shit about the fact that she was blocked by me. And
what's that got to do with me?
So, well, somebody came to ask me about it, and they were like, "Why do you have her blocked?" I said, "Because she blocked me. She blocked me and was engaging in these conversations, and I wanted nothing to do with it." And so what she was saying was me blocking her was some kind of harassment or affront. That how dare I block her when if I don't want anything to do with you, I can block you. That's not an offense to you. It just means I don't want anything to do with you. Leave me alone.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah. And then she sits back and plays the victim with
so creepy.
Yeah, and she blocks him. She blocked him.
She blocked Puddle because he said that you're not a mathematician and you're a historian.
Oh my god. Machiavellian. She's complaining about you blocking her. Yeah,
that's what I said.
She even said that she actually compared you blocking people to McCarthyism once, straight up. Yeah. And I'm like, you're a historian, and you're gonna use the word McCarthyism as to describe Chesh blocking people that are shitty people that she doesn't want around. You've lost all perspective of reality at that point.
She of all people knows what McCarthyism too is.
Right, very well.
It's not that. It's not that.
Yes. This is what bothers me the most. She should know better.
Maybe we should have a conversation one day about Machiavellian and McCarthyism on another.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, we'd have to probably bring in somebody who kind of knows it better than I do. I'm not a historian. I do understand Machiavellianism only because the Prince and whatever.
Caffeine,
but the ends justify the means. But and also, I believe, if I'm mistaken, in the Dark Triad, Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy are the three traits for the Dark Triad. All right. Anyways, though, we are coming up at the 2-hour mark. Boy, this went by pretty fast. I gotta admit. Yeah, we did it. Yeah. So looks like we're gonna end on time.
We didn't bring up too many names, but I think you guys will be able to recognize these behaviors without the names attached.
Yeah, that's kind of true. We didn't even mention specific names. That's good. No, we don't need to. I'll give them attention. I think it isn't about the person. It's about the behavior and what they do. It doesn't matter who they are. We want to give people the skill set to go look at these behaviors and go, look, do these people fall into these categories? Who's doing the actual trolling? Who's doing the actual harassing?
We're also not looking to send anybody to deal with these people. In fact, we regularly tell people don't deal with these people because they can be dangerous. And they can be excessive and persistent, and they will go after you. We don't want people to get in those situations, but what we do want is to educate you and help you understand by using our experience, so that way you don't get caught in these situations in other cases. Like, this can happen in real life, this can happen online, this can happen in your workplace. And so it's hell with your neighbors. There are people who have like that one neighbor who's like running around telling stories and rumors and talking shit about that other neighbor. Maybe that neighbor's actually harassing that other neighbor. Might be worth looking into. And these kinds of things are meant to help with that. So you don't have to interact with these people, so you can recognize what you're dealing with when you're dealing with it.
I think that's a good way to end it, actually, because I think that's what this whole thing is about. Just recognize behaviors, because again, we never want anybody to address them. I tell people just stop talking to them, block them, don't go to their channel, don't have anything to do with them. These are not the people that I think anybody should have anything to do with. That doesn't mean, well, I'm going to make it very clear, that doesn't mean that I'm going to condemn anybody if they do. Cheshire King's. I know Glenn goes into the Discord with these people.
Yeah,
He's perfectly allowed to. Yeah, he enjoys it. I'm like, knock yourself out, dude. You know. But on Twitter, I just don't want to come in my timeline. So if I unfollow somebody, it doesn't mean I'm no longer supporting them. I mean, it just means I don't want to deal with it because it's just waste of my time. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Ignoring Steve on this later today. Hopefully, I will have a video finished that you guys may enjoy. And I'm just going through one little tidbit. So if you guys are curious, head on over to my channel. That should be out either today or tomorrow. So it'll either
I
be
will say
tonight
this:
or
I've seen it. I will. I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm really reserved on my compliments for many of the reasons, because I think when I give a compliment, it should actually be something that I compliment. I think that's your best video. Yeah, I've seen
I
it.
think it's pretty good.
And the fact that you had to like go through all that to do it, but people will notice when you actually do it, and you still are functioning and haven't developed like seizures and alcoholism or something. I'm proud of you. All right, we got a super chat, and then
probably throw myself down some stairs once the video itself is actually done. So we'll see how I do once the video actually premieres. Golden Unicorn for I expect I'm going to be maybe raising some arguments on Twitter by doing this, but yeah, sometimes it's necessary. Golden Unicorn for 2 said, "Yep, recognize the behaviors, and that's the aim."
that is the aim. That is the aim. So anyways, like, subscribe, head over to Cheshire's channel, go watch her stuff, become a patron of us. She's got her Patreon on her channel, and I think I got it in the video description, and of course mine. And to become membership, you get a little green thing and a little symbol, and she's got some cool icons that I don't have because I don't really know how to do them well. Whatever. She got emojis. Yeah, emojis.
I've got the best emojis. That's the best thing about being a member.
And hopefully the next stream we have will be on the Non Sequitur show Judgment. Hopefully. That's what I'm hoping. No promises, though.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right,
guys.